Hello everybody, welcome back to another one of my videos. Hope you're having a good day. I'm having a very good day so far. And today we're going to be discussing the debate that occurred between Penguin Zero and SNEAKO. And they both have terrible takes. And I decided I wanted to talk about it. So let's get into this debate.
Yeah, man. So, with all of what's going on here, why are you so insistent on like the age of consent being like unreasonable? Or at least that's the impression I and most people gather from the way you speak about it.
That's a valid question, and I want to first ask, like, what's your issue with my opinion on the age of consent, age of marriage?
Because I feel like age of consent should just be an accepted number, and I think the accepted one is 18. Like, regardless of where you talk about in the world, I feel like once you start talking about someone under 18, you're basically just talking like a predator. Like, I feel like 18 is a pretty well established number for most sensible people. At 18, you're going to college, you're living your own life now, you're outside of your family nest. Anything under that, you're still a kid.
Okay. It's not 18 in most of the United States where we both live, right?
Yeah, but that refers to like Romeo and Juliet laws, where if you're like 19 and with a 16-year-old, it's not technically illegal, but you're not a 19-year-old, right? So why would you be arguing for like a 16, you
Well,
know?
first off, I'm not arguing to lower the age of consent. I don't believe in the age of consent. We can get there. I want to establish some terms first.
Okay.
But
Now, I will let him explain his position. I mean, I guess it makes it sound somewhat better, but then again, not really. So the whole thing about the age of consent being 16 in most of the United States, there is some gray area to that. Like, if you're a figure of authority, you're a teacher, a police officer, you can't do that with anyone under 18. Also, I believe that you have to have the parents' permission. So, but really, the thing of it is, I mean, I know that there's Romeo and Juliet laws, so basically, I don't think most people care if it's someone within 2-year age difference. But if it's like you're 25 and you're looking for a 16 or 17-year-old, that's kind of really pathetic, in my opinion. And the fact that you have to look up and do research on whether or not your relationship is legal or not, just find someone around your age. There's dating apps. Just don't. And what would a 25-year-old even want to do with a 16 or 17-year-old? They're completely, on maturity level, totally different.
across the world, 18, I want to see, like, why do you think 18 is the age of consent?
Because that right now is the one that makes the most sense. I guess to piggyback off what you're saying, so if you're traveling right now, if you go to Europe, are you going to be comfortable like hooking up with a 16-year-old? Like just because it's legal there, would that make you feel comfortable?
No, I don't hook up anymore.
Well, I'm just, I'm not saying that you do, but I'm saying if you were, single and looking for someone, would you feel comfortable with it being a 16-year-old if it's in Europe versus US?
I wouldn't do that. Like, I would not have sex before. I think sex, like, out of wedlock altogether is something that we should not encourage anymore. And having the age of consent, having that idea encourages people to have premarital sex, right? Just that term, age of consent, means you're consenting to something that we shouldn't be doing. So no, I wouldn't feel comfortable doing that.
So I'll give him some benefit of the doubt here. It's not like he's saying go around and sleep with everybody, regardless of how old they are. He is saying that, he is encouraging that you should wait till marriage. I mean, that does make it his point somewhat better, but then he goes on to get weird about it. Because normally I think most people get married when they're adults. And so at first his statement sounds like it makes some sense, but then it gets a little bit more weird towards the end.
I wouldn't feel comfortable doing that.
Okay, so then instead of let's take it away from like premarital sex. Would you feel comfortable marrying a 16-year-old? Like, would you meet a 16-year-old with romantic intent if you're in Europe and maybe marry a 16-year-old?
I
Nothing
wouldn't.
sexual.
I probably wouldn't personally, because I don't think that I'd be on the same mental playing field. I like to have intellectual conversations. I like to be with women that are around my same age, because then I can have conversations. I like to relate to them. I think there'd be too much of a gap. But other people, like, if they're able to get along, then I don't see why that's so much of a problem.
But why don't you see that as a problem? So for you, you're recognizing like this person's much younger than me. It's It is a kid. Like you are talking to.
Okay, so let's
at
define
best,
these
like a
terms. Let's
sophomore in
let's
high school.
before we even get into let's define these terms before we even get into this conversation.
Okay.
What is a child?
I would use the age of consent. Under 18 would be a kid in my eyes.
So a 17-year-old who's 364 days, that's a kid?
Yep, I'm gonna use very hard set terms. If it is under 18, even if it's 17 364, that's still a kid.
That's a kid. Okay, so
right now I think it's important to have these hard.
So this is where I disagree with SNEAKO. For a 25-year-old to be marrying a 16-year-old, that is just makes no sense to me. You're both mentally on maturity-wise on very different paths. A 16-year-old, especially in this modern society, is not ready to get married. First of all, one, they have to finish school, and unless you have a sugar daddy, which is what I feel like a 16-year-old, that would be one of the only interests they have in a 25-year-old is, oh, they got money, though they can pay for everything. I don't have to go to school anymore. I can do all this stuff. And then they become fully dependent on this guy, and if the relationship doesn't work out because they made the decision when they're at such a young age, it could fuck up their life. Also, when you're defining what a child is, well, technically, under 18, you're considered a minor. And, when you reach 18, it comes with pros and cons. Some of the pros are you're legal adults, you don't have a curfew anymore, you can consent to sex with anybody, but also there's negatives, such as if you commit a crime, you get charged more, you get bigger charges. And then you can be forced to sign up for the draft. And personally, when you're an adult, I think that you should be allowed to drink at 18 because that's the age the government decides you're an adult, you're responsible for your own actions now. I don't get why they can draft you into a war, but they won't let you have a beer, but that's for another day. But basically, yeah, when you reach 18, it comes with positive and negatives.
18, at that point, you're going out of high school, you're going to college, you're living on your own, you're no longer, a child under your parents' roof, for the most part, extenuating circumstances, of course. But at that age, you are starting to become independent. You are no longer just in your parents' household a kid. You
Right,
are
but
now going off into the world on your own.
You do admit that varies for most people, right? A lot of people don't move out of their parents' homes until they're 25, 26, 27. A lot of people don't.
There's nothing wrong with that.
A lot of
I'm
people
saying,
graduate
on the
high
whole,
school 16. A lot of people graduate high school 20. It's a huge variable. So to set that in stone as that this is when you're a kid and this is you're an adult, that doesn't apply to most people. So why would you define a kid and an adult if it doesn't apply to most people?
First of all, I don't know who's graduating high school at 20. By then, you usually probably get a GED. Sure, you can graduate early, you can take extra credit classes, or you can be gifted and skip a grade and graduate at 16. But generally, high school, it's 18 that you usually graduate, and that's when you are no longer forced to go to school, and then you can either choose to go to college or enter the workforce. And living with your parents does not mean that you're an adult or a child, because in some countries, people live for their whole lives with their parents. It's very common in other countries. And, as when you're 18, you're expected to contribute to the household if you do live with your parents. So that means maybe you're not ready to move out right away, but you can start getting a job. You can, while you're part-time job while you're going to school, you can help around the house. You can, help pay rent, all that type of stuff, and that's what should be expected of you when you turn 18. Now, here is where Charlie takes an L, and I don't want to make this video too long, so I'll just explain what SNEAKO's ultimate beliefs on this type of stuff are. So he thinks that as long as both families agree to the marriage, then no matter how old the child is, as long as everyone agrees to it, both sides of the family, then that's okay, no matter how old they are. Now, obviously, there's a lot of stupid families out there that would possibly, oh, this older guy's got a bunch of money, marry him, oh yeah. So I don't agree with that. I don't think that you should be getting married under the age of 18. But then Charlie also agrees with that point, but then he makes a complete hypocritical statement.
Somebody can have, okay, do you believe that somebody can go through hormone therapy? Can they change their gender if they're a child?
I think that's totally fine as long as everyone is consenting, as you agree with.
Okay, so as long as everyone...
If your parents are okay with it and you are okay with it, I think that's totally a familial decision to make, yeah.
Okay, so A child can cut their penis off and take hormone blockers and change their biology forever, but they can't get married?
Oh, that's a decision that now extends beyond the family because now you're bringing in a different party. So if you have someone that's your age coming in saying, I want to marry that child, I don't think that can happen under any circumstance.
So,
no.
But it's still a personal decision. You're still deciding.
Because there's
take the other party out of the equation. It's a personal
decision.
decision. If I'm 16 and I personally want to marry this girl, she's beautiful. She's 21 years old. Her family wants to do it. My family wants to do it. You're saying I can't do that. We're both consenting. I'm ready to go. I'm physically mature, but I'm not allowed to marry because Moy says that woman's a pedophile. But if then the next day I leave it, I'm depressed, I want to cut my penis off, I can go right into the clinic, snip it off, and start taking HRT like Chris Tyson. That's a society that makes sense to you?
It is. I believe
everyone
has I believe everyone has the right to do with their body what they want to do.
Okay, 100%. So everyone has the right to do with their body, but not when it comes to a sacred marriage where they have kids, where they add to society.
That's no longer just you.
That is your body.
Bringing someone in.
Okay, you're still bringing in the doctor to use the scissors to snip off your penis.
He's not there for the rest of your life. He's not constantly there at your fucking house monitoring you.
The procedure that the doctor did will affect you for the rest of your life. Doesn't matter if he's there or not. Now, this is the thing that makes no sense. So if you think that kids aren't mature enough to be able to get married, then they are not mature enough to have life-altering procedures done to them when they don't even know who they really are yet. That makes no sense. And we do not know the long-term effects of hormonal replacement therapy. There is some people that say that it can cause infertility issues, it can increase cancer risk. The thing of it is, we haven't studied this for long enough for a child to be able to make this decision. Especially when most kids, they grow out of gender dysphoria. And to think that they're somehow, as long as the parents agree to that, then it's okay to have irreversible surgery that they could very well regret, and there's nothing they can do about it later in life. Whereas with a marriage, I mean, you can always get divorced. I don't think that kid should be getting married either. But to say that they can't get married, but they can get irreversible surgery, just blows my mind. Now, what I think he's doing is I think he just doesn't want to get canceled. Because, well, the truth of it is, most people don't agree that children should be getting gender-reaffirming surgeries, taking these hormones that we don't even know. We're basically experimenting with kids. Anyway, that's it for this video. Please leave your comments down below. Tell me your thoughts. I'd love to hear it. And thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.